Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Friday, June 23rd. Well, the news today mostly is a lot of talk about the Senate health care bill, which may be voted on as early as the first of next week if the Republicans have their way, and it sounds like they've got the House votes lined up if they can get through the Senate. The big news, it seems to me, are all the flaws in the bill. First of all, this seems clear, and nobody's disputed this yet, that this would be the largest transfer of wealth from working class Americans to ultra wealthy Americans. It's a big tax cut. That's what it's all about. Is that what the American people want? That's certainly what the Republicans want. The Republican answer to all this seems to be, well, Nancy Pelosi. If she's against it, everybody else ought to be for it. Tom Cotton is one person who doesn't have much to say, and he helped write this bill. He was one of the 13 white men who were in on the secret bill writing. He's avoided all comment on this so far, although he's commented on just about everything else, and even appeared on the Buzz radio talk show yesterday morning when the bill was released and answered such tough questions as whether he preferred Ginger or Mary Ann on the old sitcom. Well, in any event, someday Tom Cotton will come out. His staff says he's studying this bill. Yes, I'm sure he's studying it. We think we know how to vote. On another national topic, the Washington Post has a blockbuster of a story, and it says that the CIA told and provided to President Obama, and this was not alluded to till after the election was over, solid information that Putin himself had said that he wanted the Russians to do all they could to elect Donald Trump. Really, their actions demonstrated this pretty amply. This is not, by the way, about replaying last year's election again. This is about a country that will do this sort of thing again. I think everybody should be somewhat concerned about it. Republicans don't seem to be, but if they trust the Russians to stay true to them, that might be a bridge too far. News today in Yell County, James Bowden, who killed Yell County's Sheriff's Lieutenant Kevin Mainhart during a traffic stop and also killed two women who were related to his former girlfriend, pleaded guilty today to capital murder in all three of those cases and accepted a life without parole sentence. This was a plea bargain. Several of the victims' families said they favored the death penalty, but the family of Kevin Mainhart, the deputy sheriff who was killed, said that in a way they saw this as a better outcome than waiting 20 years for a death sentence to be finally carried out. The defendant himself, Dowden, said he couldn't take back what he'd done. He was sorry for it, but he thought that pleading guilty might bring an end to the suffering sooner for some of those in the family. He said he knew it wouldn't make it go away. The Supreme Court again today put off yet again a pending case from Arkansas on discrimination against same-sex couples and issues of birth certificates. The attorney for the plaintiffs who are challenging this ruling is hopeful that this means on Monday, the last day of the Supreme Court term, that they will take the case up for review or perhaps even reverse the Arkansas Supreme Court decision on this summarily. The Arkansas Supreme Court decision legalizing discrimination against gay couples is one of the black marks in its history. It deserves to be overturned. Interesting development broke in midweek this week and was reported yesterday. David Dunn, a former Democratic state representative from Forest City, was named by Donald Trump to commission that's ad hoc commission he's named to look into voter fraud. This is, most people view as an effort by Donald Trump to prove that there is a lot of fraud that explains why Hillary Clinton got more votes than he did in the last election. Apparently Dunn, who says he has no past experience in anything about election procedures, except for being a state representative at one time, says he probably got appointed because he's a friend of Mark Martin. Mark Martin, the Secretary of State of Arkansas, in turn is a friend of Chris Kobach, who's one of the most notorious vote fraud conspiracy theorists in the country. He's Secretary of State of Kansas and has propagated a lot of nonsense about voter fraud. Dunn says he's going to do a straight job. We may be well served by having him on that commission. He's a lobbyist in Arkansas now. Late yesterday, catch up on something that happened after we taped yesterday. Wendell Griffen, the circuit judge in Little Rock, has struck down a brand new 2017 law that was intended to set a new procedure for sentencing juveniles convicted of murder. This is a response to the Supreme Court decision that said you can't give life without parole sentences to juvenile offenders. Well, the legislature came up with something that said that we'll give them a life sentence and a possibility of parole after 30 years. Well, this amounts to a mandatory sentencing, and the parole hearing would be before the parole board, not a jury. Wendell Griffen says that the Constitution of the state and the U.S. are pretty clear that sentencing is a jury's prerogative, not the executive branch, not the legislative branch. and he's overturned that law. This will be appealed almost certainly to the Arkansas Supreme Court. Some in the legislature aren't happy about it. They're never happy when their laws are overturned, but they don't pay much attention to the Constitution. Wendell Griffen does. I think he may have a point on this one. Just a note from the crime scene, there were 5 drive-by shootings in Little Rock, 5, count them, in 24 hours between Wednesday and Thursday, and who knows how many more. It is Friday after all. And finally this, at UCA tonight, they're going to put on a performance at the Reynolds Performance Hall by the Arkansas Shakespeare Theater of, yes, Julius Caesar, that famous play that's become even more famous because of the New York production that was repitched as a drama featuring a Trump-like character in the Julius Caesar role. Well, they're going to reimagine Caesar at UCA as well. Women are going to play the roles of the conspirators plotting to kill this terrible leader. I suggested maybe they should wear pink pussy hats, but this isn't something we probably should be joking about. Shakespeare is not popular these days. Lots of threats have been made to theaters where Julius Caesar's been staged. I hope that doesn't happen in Conway, but this is a Trump stage, so you just never know. Some of the rest of us are going to keep trying to resist. I'll be back Monday. I'm Max Brantley.